Good morning. My name is John Milton Wesley, and I'm here at Oakland Mills High School in Columbia, Maryland, in the village that I used to live in. And I'm back with the students again. And glad that you could join us. It's great to be doing something live with students in my hometown. Hope everybody's having a great African American History Month. We're about to celebrate, y'all. Thank you.
I want to tell you a little bit about John Mosley, but I first want to remind you that all of our guests are local. The Scorpion Speaker Series was started a few years ago to connect our community members with you, because we have the mantra that you don't have to look far to find excellence in Oakland Mills. In fact, he lives right down the street, even though he grew up in Mississippi and lived through a lot of very historic moments that you've learned about in your history classes during the Civil Rights Movement. So I'm going to tell you a little bit more about him. You can learn more about him by doing your own research. But without further ado, let's hear a little bit about our special guest today. I have way too many things in my pocket. That's what pocket. John Mosley is a 1970 graduate from Tucalega College, a singer-songwriter and a published author, both of poetry and prose. His work has appeared in 9 English, Arabic, and Spanish anthologies. He began his writing career in his native Mississippi under the tutelage of Dr. Naomi Townsend at Tucalega and Dr. Margaret Walker Alexander. She mentored him, she's the author of Jubilee, and also poets like Audre Lorde, Ted Jones, author John Oliver Killens, and Dr. Jerry Ward. He's a composer and all of his music is original. He's also the godson of civil rights activist Fannie Lou Hamer. She and Wesley's grandmother, Sarah Sanders, worked in the same wealthy Jewish family's homes. Sanders was the nanny and Hamer was the cook. He moved to Jackson, Mississippi on June 12, 1963, and that's when Medgar Evers, a family friend, was murdered in his driveway. Wesley would later graduate from Jim Hill High School and attend Tucalega College on a full vocal music scholarship. While a Tucalega student, Wesley, encouraged by his college advisor, Dr. Naomi Townsend, in 1968, entered the United Negro College Fund Reader's Digest Poetry Contest. He won first place in poetry. That same year, he performed with the Tucalega College Concert Choir at Carnegie Hall with Duke Ellington and his orchestra. And again on April 4th, 1968, the night Dr. Martin Luther King Jr. was murdered in Memphis. His writing, both poetry and prose, has since appeared in the Washington Post, Essence Magazine, the Baltimore Sun, the Afro-American newspapers, PR Tactics, the American Legacy Magazine. He's appeared on NBC, Fox, CBS, CNN, BET. Internationally, his work has even been featured in Shinhui Network in China, in the Stavanger Aftenblad newspaper in Norway, the British Telegraph, French TV3, and National Public Radio, NPR, all things considered. He is also an accomplished jazz music artist with music in the public domain in 7 countries. And he lives in Columbia, Maryland. Without further ado, let's turn
Thank you. Okay, what I'd like to do to start, I have a special guest, one of your own, who's going to be joining me. But I'd like to play for you one of the songs that appeared on my first CD, which is called Salvos, which means to heal. And I did this song, I'll tell you why I did it later. I'll do the song first. Tell me, why do you doubt what your ancestors knew? The door has been open for you to walk through, and you don't have to beg, and you don't have to plead. But one thing's for sure, you gotta believe that it's all ready now before you ask. Ah, yeah, believe it's all ready done, already done. Ah, yeah, before you ask. Ah, yeah, you gotta believe it's already done. There's nothing too big, nothing that's too small. I am just waiting just to answer your call. There is no secret to having your dreams come true. First you believe it, and then you let go, 'cause it's all already done, already done. 'Cause it's all already done, already done. Ah, yeah, before you ask. Ah, yeah, you gotta believe it's already done. What you bring, all your cares, all your fears and all your woes, and all your dark secrets, all your highs and all your lows. And you ask for forgiveness, and you're gonna feel a rush of grace. Let the joy in your heart put a smile on your face, 'cause it's all already done. 'Cause it's all already done, already done. Ah, yeah, before you ask. Ah, yeah, you gotta believe it's already done. Thank you. Thank you. Thank you. I was telling the other group that I wrote that song in 2004, as a matter of fact. I had just done a book with the daughter of the plaintiff in Brown versus the Board of Education. How many of you heard of Brown versus the Board of Education? Okay, there's a book called The Brighter Side of Darkness, and we talk about the 50th anniversary, and I did that book along with Carolyn Brown, who's the daughter of the Brown and Brown versus the Board of Education. But I was going home to Mississippi to read from the book at the school that I attended when I was in elementary school. And the fact that when I was there, all the students were black, all the teachers were black. When I went back in 2004, the school was integrated, and the Mr. Jim Hill was a little white kid. Beautiful, which I thought was so amazing, as opposed to, you know, when I was there, Mr. Jim Hill was black, everybody was black. But that is just how much progress we've made. So I wanted to do a song that will say to them, listen, the work has already been done. What you have to do is believe that you can achieve it. If you believe it, you can do it. Listen, you're looking at a guy who did not start with all these fancy keyboards and all this, okay? I started on Thunder Hill Road with a Casio piano, with a karaoke machine, with a coat hanger around my neck, and a karaoke microphone in it, okay? And that's how I started. And I had one song, and I had one chord, a 7th chord, and the key of C. That's all I did, okay? And I had one song, then 2 songs, then 3 songs, then 4 songs, and it went on from there. Okay, so listen, I want to bring before you now a very special guest and a very talented teacher who is a part of your group here. I got another Oakland Mill story that I'm going to tell you later on that happened to me in Santa Fe, New Mexico, but I will say that, okay? First of all, I want to introduce you to a special guest, Mrs. Nicole Brown Fordham. Okay?
To the children of blood and bone, the survivor, the protester, the poet X who doesn't check the hate you give, because it feeds the fire within, so the fire next time happens. And the year of yes makes sense to go tell Michelle that I might not have dreams of my father because I'm one of the lost daughters, searching for a destiny, a knowledge of people. They came before Columbus, stamped from the beginning, and on a foreign soul forced to be unhappily categorized in history as property. Black girls must die exhausted because they're trying to make black boys extinct. Put 3 strikes on them from the moment they're born, torn between wanting the game, learning they have access, but the chances of making it are slim. Black boys and girls don't want to be lost in the world wearing yellow tinted glasses. The 1619 Project shouldn't be invisible, man. Our history has been whitewashed enough. It's past time to acknowledge it. Our ancestors were on the Underground Railroad. Today, we're taking over boardrooms, but don't assume the soup's off, because on any given day, you can get clone girls and hand grenades. There's an eloquent rage, begging to be released. Someone who speaks too loud, someone who shines too bright, someone who can lead them their care, because 90 minutes can't all be direct instruction, but a cooperative, even competitive environment for growth. Someone who can teach them to see that conformity is another box that will strip your identity. Someone who will branch out wallless classrooms. Reality 101, stripping those yellow tents to offer clear frames, to finally give them wisdom to succeed and failure, understanding and failing to succeed, so they can realize the souls of black folks are resilient. The color purple carries us. We are beloved, transcendent kingdom inhabitants, kindred spirits. We are our ancestors' wildest dreams. It's all, 1 month can't hold our history. It's just all the world would allow. Do something with the gift inside of you. There's no better time to start than now.
How about that? Ah, but this is the first live audience that we've done this song for. And we do it for you. Thank you. wrote a song like this. Oh, no. I never thought I'd get it when I made a wish. Oh, no, y'all. I've never been captivated by a kiss. And then came you out of the blue. And when you hear calling out your name, floating on a cloud, it's hard to do when I'm close to you. Keep them screaming out loud. I was when you hear calling out your name, floating on a cloud. All that you do, all that you do, when I'm close to you. When I'm close to you, I'm breathing real slow, trying to keep my cool. Oh, yes, I am. See, 'cause I don't wanna lose it and look like a fool. Oh, no, y'all. My friends keep telling me, boy, don't be you. But what can I do? Into my world came you. I'll never do. Oh, yeah. You step out of the blue, out of the blue. Step out of the blue, out of the blue, out of the blue, out of the blue. You step out of the blue, out of the blue, out. Forgive me if I'm just a little bit starstruck. Ah, yes I am. But see, we walk into a room and people are awestruck. Ah, yes they are. Well, forgive me if I sound kind of personal, but what can they do? Into their world came you. Out of the blue. Step out of the blue, step out of the blue, out of the blue. from out west, okay? How am I doing time-wise then? Oh, good, okay, so listen. So I'm in Santa Fe, New Mexico, right? And I just did a reading on radio, public radio for National Public Radio, okay? So this guy hears me on the radio, he's driving, and I'm at this place called the Santa Fe Baking Company, okay? That's on Canyon Road in Santa Fe, New Mexico. So anyway, he comes back to this place, and he waits until I go off the air. And he says to me, Mr. Wesley, listen, I so enjoyed your poetry because I was reading from one of my books then and something like that. But anyway, he said, I enjoyed it so much. I'm going out today to visit some a place called the Desert Academy and a place for seniors. He had started a program called the Alzheimer's Poetry Project. And Alzheimer's, for most of you may know, that's for people who have cognitive issues. Some seniors, but some young folks too. But anyway, so I said, yeah, I'll go with you. Okay, so I go to this school that's called the Desert Academy, and I read from the book, and then I ask for questions. So when I ask for questions, a lady in the back of the room says, so what did they ever do with Blandale Park, and what about the mall? Is the mall still open? And I go, yeah, how do you know that? She said, well, my name is Mary, I think Mary Smith, and I'm on sabbatical from Oakland Mills High School in Columbia, Maryland. Okay, and I could have fallen out on the floor. Okay, but anyway, I just thought that was very interesting. But and we got a chance to talk, and I got to tell them about Oakland Mills because I was living in Oakland Mills at the time. Listen, some of you may not know, but I'll share this with you. My former fiancée, Sarah Miller Clark, was killed in the plane that crashed into the Pentagon on 9/11. She was a middle school teacher from Columbia. We lived on Thunder Hill. And she had one of her students with her, an 11-year-old, Asia Carter. And both of them were killed in the plane that crashed into the Pentagon. It was that experience that took me back to my music as a healing process for myself. I had not intended to be doing as much as I'm doing with it, but I started just as a part of the healing, as I say, with a Casio and a karaoke machine, and at one song, I had 2 songs and 3 songs, 4 songs, and but when I knew anything, I had all of this music. Now, I did my first CD in 2010, and I was able to do the CD, and it premiered in 7 countries because all of the music was original music, okay? And it could be played. And then what happened was that it was kind of likened to some of the other stuff that they were hearing, and as a result, people started playing it around the world. But anyway, one of the songs that I did after that experience, one of the first songs, and the first songs on my CD is a song called "In My Arms Tonight." So I want to play that song for you. That is from my from my first CD. And it's called "In My Arms." Gotta get this stuff together here. Oh, I'm wiggling the wrong knobs. Okay. I'm so glad to have you in my arms tonight. found you in my arms tonight. So if I hold you a little tighter and kiss you a little longer, it's not a dream. Things are what they seem tonight. I'm so glad to have you in my arms tonight. No star could be brighter than your eyes tonight. So if I lose my concentration, it's not just your imagination. I'm just that glad you're in my arms tonight. Kind of giddy, even come on kind of silly. I've been waiting just for this moment so long. If I'm overly romantic, that's no reason to panic. I'm just that glad you're in my arms tonight. I seem kind of giddy, even come on kind of silly. I've been waiting just for this moment so long. If I'm overly romantic, that's no reason to panic. I'm just that glad I'm just that glad. I'm just that glad you're in my arms tonight. Thank you. Okay, can you take some questions? Okay, questions.
Sure. Last group of people, they were almost all musicians. They asked a lot of questions about music, and I know a lot of you are too. But this group is mostly comprised of our social studies and English classes, and all of Mr. Griswold's students. So if you have any questions about history, one thing you didn't tell a story about was how you grew up across the street.
Oh, yeah. How many of you saw the
Wait,
story
don't
last...
walk away from your mic.
Oh, yes, right.
So I'll let him tell the story, but
Okay.
it's good.
How many of you saw the PBS piece on Emmett Till, Fannie Lou Hamer last week? Anybody see that? Okay, so how many of you remember the story of Emmett Till, the 14-year-old black kid, Mississippi? And the people who killed him, the Milam brothers, Roy Bryant? Well, I grew up across the street from them in Rouville, Mississippi. After they killed Emmett, they were run out of Money, Mississippi, which was where they killed Emmett. And what the Milam brothers did across the state of Mississippi was that they ran general stores all over. There were about 8 or 9 brothers. But anyway, there was a store on the corner from my house that was about, I guess, from here, from the front of, well, the distance from your school to your parking lot was from my house, was where I lived from the guys who killed Emmett Till. I knew them before they killed Emmett Till because when we picked cotton and chopped cotton, they were our straw bosses in the field. So they told us when to sharpen our hoes, and you know, when we picked cotton all day, you'd weigh up your first sack about, I don't know, maybe 10 o'clock in the morning, and they would write your name down and how much cotton you had in the sack, and we were only getting like $2.50 for 100 pounds of cotton. So, you know, now check this out. We were getting $2.50 for 100 pounds of cotton, right? It took to make 1 pound of cotton 70 bowls, okay? So to make 100 pounds of cotton, 7 times 100 is what? Okay, so it took me 700 bowls to make 100 pounds, and I would try to do 100 pounds a day, okay? But now my godmother, Miss Fannie Lou, she could do 300 pounds a day. I never got that high, okay? But I could do 200. But yeah, I grew up, and Fannie Lou Hamer was my godmother. Mrs. Hamer and my grandmother, well, first of all, we were sharecroppers, which means that we farmed cotton on land that was owned by someone else, okay? And we shared the profits. Mrs. Hamer, her husband's name was Henry Pap Hamer. Mr. Hamer, Pap, Miss Fannie Lou, my grandmother, Sarah Sanders, and Will Sanders worked together sharecropping. My grandmother and Mrs. Hamer worked for the rich white families and barbecued for the governor and the senators of it. So Senator Stevenson and Senator Eastland, rather, Senator Stennis, get his name right. Those are the people that they served. And we used to barbecue goats and hogs for them every holiday. And I get a chance to see them and spend time around all these people. Now, keep in mind, the other thing, we had a simple phone. Our phone number was 4356. John Stennis, the senator's number, was 4355. So I could go on the phone and pick up the phone. We had a party line. I could go in and listen on that calls, you know, until my grandmother called me, made me stop. But the whole idea is that I grew up in Mississippi during this time, during the Civil Rights Movement. So any quick questions on the movement? I know you saw this is Miss Hamer right here. This is my godmother, okay? Fannie Lou Hamer. And amazing lady. As amazing lady. Used to cook me cook me a chocolate cake every year on my birthday, okay? Anybody else got a question for me?
Yeah, does anybody have a question? I'm coming over.
How was it like to be segregated?
I can't hear you.
How was it like to be segregated?
How was it what now?
What was it like when places were segregated?
Oh my. Well, I simple things. I can give you some simple things. If you walked into a building and there were water fountains, there were two. There was a black water fountain and a white water fountain. You went to the black water fountain. You knew that. If you went to the, one of the things that I remember being from my childhood, the Greyhound bus station. You know, the Greyhound bus station there in Rube, my little hometown, was a service station. So they stopped at the service station. There was a bathroom inside the building for for white folks. There was a outhouse out behind the building for black folks. I remember one day I had taken my aunt's luggage up to catch the bus, and I pulled it up on my wagon, and we got there, and the Willingham brothers, the bus driver said to the guy, "Did you put all the luggage on the bus?" And the guy said, "Yeah, I put all the luggage on the bus except that Ann's luggage. I didn't put hers in there." And I remember putting my aunt's luggage on the bus, and I remember going home, pulling my wagon, crying. So if you want to know what it felt like, yeah. And you know, it's funny. I had a funny incident with J.W. Milam, who really was the one behind killing Emmett. So one day I'm in the store, and I'm getting cookies. And I get cookies out of the can, and I put them in a bag. And J.W. says to me, "How many cookies you got in that bag, Bubba?" And I said, "I got 4. He said, "No, I think you got 5. And he started from behind the counter like he was coming to, check my bag or something. And I was so frightened of this guy that I turned to run, and the door was open. And I went right into the door jam. It hit my nose, face, but I was getting out of that store and running home. And I ran home with my grandmother, my nose bleeding and all this. My grandmother seems to come to put, "Bubba, you okay? And here comes J.W. Milam running behind her. And he says, "Oh, Miss Sarah, I'm so sorry if I frightened him. I don't know why this kid is afraid of me." I remember turning around looking at him, thinking, my tears dried up, and I thought, let me get this right. You killed my friend, and you got away with it, and you don't know why I'm afraid of you. Okay. Okay. So my whole mindset what was it like? We were in a crazy relationship. Because although you hear a lot about segregation, poor blacks and poor whites live together. Okay? So although you hear all the stuff about segregation, in fact, my next door neighbor, if you go on my Facebook page, John Milton Wesley, which you can pull up, you'll see a lady named Angie Shoemaker Dunn. Angie Shoemaker Dunn was my neighbor. She was white, I was black. And we used to practice music together until 1960. I went to New York, and when I came back, they didn't let us play together anymore. But anyway, anybody else got another question here?
That was a great first question.
That was a great question, by the way. Thank you for that.
Was it hard to pick cotton?
Was it hard? You know what? Bless your heart. What's his name?
My name's Kevin.
My
name's Kevin.
Kevin?
Yeah.
Okay, Kevin. Hey, Kevin. Let me tell you something about that nobody talks about when they talk about picking cotton. Okay, listen. At the top of the cotton bolls, right, when they would defoliate it and the sun would hit it, it comes to a point, like a needle point. And those needle points get hard. And when you go to pick that cotton, they stick in the top of your fingers, okay? And your fingers would be bloody. When you got home in the evening, the first thing you did was you wash your hands, you sat down with some alcohol, you put it on your fingers, and you took a needle and you burnt it with a match, and then you picked those points, those thorns out of your hands, okay? And you did it every day. What was it like? Well, it was a little bit better picking, Kevin, than it was chopping. I tell you why. Because when we chopped, there was just open field, okay? And it was hot. It was nothing there. The great thing about picking was at least the cotton was ripe during the time when there were trees, so there was some leverage there. Now, there was picking, snapping, and pulling. When you pick cotton, you pick the cotton out of the bowl and you put it in your sack, okay? When you snap cotton, you put your fingers under the bowl and you pull the bowl and the cotton out and you put it in your sack. The bowls were used for fertilizer. When you pull cotton, when you pulled it, you pull pod stalk, bowl, stem, all of it. And there was some cotton left on there, but that was pretty much used for fertilizer. But you got more money per 100 as the weight of the cotton was less. So for pulling cotton, you may get up to $4 a hundred. For snapping cotton, you may get $3 a hundred. But for picking cotton, you got $2.50 per 100 pounds. So that was all day long. Okay, we got 5 minutes. Okay. All right, so I'll tell you, any more questions if I... Okay, all right. I'll take it.
Hi, I like your shoes. Do you think we would have come this far when you were younger?
Beg pardon?
Do you think we would have come this far when you were younger?
When I was younger?
When you were younger, would you
Oh,
have
yes.
thought to be-
You know what? What's your name?
Frankie?
Huh?
Frankie.
Freddie?
Her
Frankie.
name is Frankie, and you
Okay.
met her the other day before she went on to dominate the states in track. You
Oh,
met her at the
that's right.
cafeteria.
Yes, okay. Frankie, let me tell you something. I had a dream when I was a little kid. I'm so glad that's so good. I remember having a dream when I was a little kid. And I dreamed that I was a drum major, right? And that I was walking down the street and all of my friends were behind me and they were marching in order or something, you know? So when I began, my problem, Frankie, was that I was multi-talented. And you know, people say you're jack of all trades and master none. Frankly, until I saw Michael Jackson and I saw Michael perform and I realized all the different things that Michael could do, because Michael didn't read music anyway. By the way, let me tell you, I don't read music, okay? I learned to play all of these instruments and arrange this stuff on my own. I taught myself, with God's help, how to do it. So you can do it too, okay? You can do it too. I taught myself each instrument, how to play it, how to arrange it, anyway, etc. So my point is that, did I think I was going to make it? Yes, I did. I mean, when I talk about it's already done. I believe, Frankie, now this is a little kid's mindset. I took care of my grandmother when I was a kid, when I was a little boy. From the time that I was 7 years old, I gave her 80 cc's of insulin every morning before I went to the fields. I cooked her breakfast and I cooked her lunch because I knew by dinner time I would be home. But she had to eat within 30 minutes of me giving her that 80 cc's of insulin. Now, in my little head, I believe that if I took care of my grandmother, that God would always take care of me. So I can say to you that did I think I was going to make it? Yes. Did I know I would be doing this? No. But I knew that I was going to make it because I knew that I had good intentions and that I believed that I was as good as any of the other little kids of any color that I saw. I just knew that my people had to get free.
All right, maybe we have time for one or two more?
Okay.
So, my name is Rohan. My question is, how did you go from sharecropping to, playing with Duke Ellington?
Because first of all, I started in my grandmother's living room, front room. We didn't have a front room with a pen. But let me tell you, it's interesting. The week, how I got to Carnegie Hall, this is interesting. And let me tell you this is the real story about how I got to Carnegie Hall. So my grandmother says to me one day, Bubba, I want you to take $29 of your cotton picking money and I want you to give it to Miss Saunders and get you a choir robe. Oh, Ma, I don't want to be in no choir. I want to run track. She said, boy, when you come home this evening, you better have a receipt from Miss Sanders for a choir roll. I went to Miss Sanders, my grandmama said, her name was Sanders too. Mama said, give you $29 to give me a choir roll, and I want to join the choir. She said, oh yeah, that's good. Listen, I didn't see it, but my grandmother saw it. Okay, my grandmother saw it. The fact that 8 years later, I would be on stage at Carnegie Hall. How did I get there? I'd been in Memphis with Dr. King the week before for the garbage workers strike. Dr. King was killed in Memphis. I went to perform that Sunday. I was going on to tour. I was on tour. I was leaving Memphis, going to Connecticut, and then coming back to perform with Duke Ellington at Carnegie Hall. What happened was, we went on, we performed in Memphis for the garbage workers strike. We went on, we got to tour, we got back. I got back to Carnegie Hall, got back to New York about 2 o'clock that day. Duke came in, we had already practiced all the music and we rehearsed and all that. And Duke had just done a book of poetry, so I just won a National Writing Award. So we talked about that, and he talked about that. And then when they got ready to introduce the concert, the president of my college and Dr. Robert Moses came out and said, I just want to announce that at 7:30 this evening, Dr. Martin Luther King was shot in Memphis. At 7:45, he died. I'm on stage with Duke Ellington, and my mind goes blank, okay? I mean, what? He died? And everybody started, and what happened was that all 3 networks, we had 3 there, went live from Carnegie Hall. So that's how I got to Carnegie Hall, was just a concert with Duke Ellington, a man and his music, and we ended up dedicating the concert to Dr. King.